Nvidia. After 2 interviews, they were like, "Oh, he's fun. You know, he can answer our questions. He kind of knows the material he's talking about." They weren't tooting my horn anymore. You know, they weren't like, "Oh, you're great." Then it was like, let's unravel and see, you know, what we can ask to break him. You can do all this stuff, but what happens when we just want you to do one thing for a few years? And I had no answer.
What would you rate this logo?
We got to do like a 3 or a 4.
Do you think that artificial intelligence is going to put people in the marketing field out of work?
Yeah.
Is there a perfect job? Is there a perfect logo? Is there a perfect design?
It's a process, and like that's something I'm willing to do because I like watching that evolution. And like if anyone's like, these suck, I'm like, try for yourself, bro. See if you can match what we're doing right now for your first episode without the same resources that we have. Welcome back, Ricky. How are you feeling?
It's good. Happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's obviously things have changed, and it's very exciting that you're back to see it. And I was trying to tell myself not to do this, but maybe if we get you on again, you can see a different evolution to this podcast. So welcome back. Yeah, what have you been up to recently?
Just trying to stay locked in, trying to maintain a lot of work that I have going on right now that I'm really blessed to have. So just trying to not overextend myself and also do my best at the same time.
And from past conversations we've had, you've wanted to take a step back because you are working full time at Cal Poly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've been wanting to take a step back. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, I have a problem saying no. So just pretty much every project that's always come my way, I don't want to. I think I touched on this in the first episode. You work really hard to like get the work coming in, be known as the guy. You're so afraid once you get to that level of starting to say no, and then now people are like, "I don't know if we should hit him up for a project. He said no last time." So it's really tough, you know, when you start to find your lane, to know that inevitably you're going to start disappointing people. So I'm just trying to set boundaries, trying to act sustainably, and just set myself up for the future.
That actually brought up a pretty good question. When you say no to people and you think that they're not going to call you back, have you experienced that personally? Like if someone says no to you, have you hit them up again?
I think people are creatures of habit. So I find myself not bugging people for the same thing a lot of times. Like if I ask people to do something and they don't get back to me or they say no, it's pretty rare that I go back to them again. You know, so I guess it's just me analyzing things in my own life and being like, ooh, I wanted somebody to do something and they said no, I guess they're not interested.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too, where like if somebody says no to like or doesn't respond to a podcast outreach, for example, I feel kind of awkward, double, triple, quadruple texting them, but it always usually works out better if I meet them at a mixer or just, somewhere where there's a bunch of people. And I'm like, "Oh, like we've been wanting to bring you on the pod. I know we've had to like reschedule or you've canceled or not responded. Like maybe we can figure something out." And usually it's a little easier in person.
You gotta like think sales, you know, like you're not gonna close every deal that you go for. You know, you gotta roll with the punches. You're gonna strike out. You know, you gotta keep swinging. So especially early on, you do gotta really chase the stuff you're interested in. Um, so it's tricky. I think if you're really interested in a business, like I would love to work for them. You go meet them, walk in there. This is like a little bit of something this is like a whole little strategy that I actually started doing is really falling in love with the business and just going in and telling them that. Like, this is my skills. I love your business. Like, how could we work together? And you might not be talking to a decision maker that first time. That first conversation might not hit. Maybe it does hit and you go home, "Hey, we had a great talk. Can I work for you?" And you don't hear back. I'm not saying that's the moment to just never hit them up again. I'm just saying pick and choose. You know, you don't want to bug people, but then be persistent on the stuff that's worth it.
Yeah.
Do you think do you think that's like not a political way to answer that? Do you think that's like a valuable way to answer that?
No, I like that.
Yeah, because
Seems fair.
there's been, obviously a few people that I've wanted to work with and I hit them up and then they just don't respond. Or there have been multiple people where I've gone into their shop and I'm like, hey, like, you guys are really cool. Like, I want to work with you. And they're like, okay, cool. Shoot us an email. Shoot them an email. Just silent.
What if you start that way of thinking over just from the beginning? Like, who that you haven't hit up yet would you love to work with? Like, who'd be your dream episode?
Dream episode right now that we have reached out to and gotten ghosted, or haven't reached out?
Haven't reached out to yet. Just like somebody almost you're scared to be like, dude, we're working our way up, but someday we're gonna get that episode. Cool. Have you asked him?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's maybe one who you haven't gotten the responses you've hoped for.
I think it's going to happen. That'll be a killer episode. I'm super excited to hear everything he has to say, like all the ins and outs, because he knows a lot of the people that I know and some of the people that I want to get in contact with for the pod.
Well, I think you're going to get that.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to listen to that episode when it happens.
Yeah.
I think everybody feels really honored to the chance to be on here. Like, you guys are putting a lot of effort into this. This podcast is awesome.
Thank you.
And I'm super honored to just get on here and just say anything, so the fact you want to have me, that's awesome. And I think everybody probably falls under that lane of just, wanting to say, this is what I've been up to and it's kind of worked for me. That's like, feels mission accomplished to be invited on a podcast. But then, like you've noticed, he's just really busy right now. So I think you've handled that perfectly. Just keep reaching out and just being like, I want this to happen. When does it work for you? But then maybe something to add to your strategy would be, how can you frame it to where it's really beneficial to him? Maybe you could think of like stuff like, oh, Tex, if we get you on, you could talk about this, like a chance for him to plug something new.
Yeah.
A chance for him to, because everybody's busy, how can he kill the most birds,
You have you kind of think of things in like a philosophy style. What's the word? Philosophical. Damn it.
I think you're giving me too much credit, but I appreciate it. I'll take it.
I think you're very philosophical.
Yeah, the way you go
I
about
like it.
things and like you're very methodical with it. That's what's like, yeah, like this would make for a very good second episode.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
Yeah,
it. Kind
of course. Yeah. But yeah, that's yeah.
I'm thinking about how this podcast can bring in money, and I'm like ways that aren't contingent on viewership or necessarily like insanely high viewership. One way, and I'm just like, I just thought of this, is we start like we get connected with the school somehow. Like we do like a spinoff. And we do like a spinoff for like the School of Business, and we start interviewing, students or professors or whoever from the School of Business, and then we get, and then you use that to get students to come to the School of Business, right? And if that works, then you could say, hey, this can work for the school in general, and say Cal Poly Humboldt should sponsor and fund this podcast, and so on and so forth.
Cal Poly does so many different great things that like I could see them having like a window of always like what they're up to. Like when your podcast starts, just like, oh, sponsored by Cal Poly Humboldt. By the way, their most recent update is this, just an idea, but and even other businesses you've worked with, like maybe 100 episodes from now, you open up an episode and it's like sponsored by Revision, check out an old episode, maybe you can use little sponsorship windows of people you've interviewed in the past and like plug your old episodes. Yeah, I know it's really cool. You've already plugged your other projects like AAA. That's a really cool thing that you guys have the opportunity to sponsored by me,
Yeah,
meaning you.
That's like our practice. So like in the video, we'll have like an ad read from me for AAA Productions and an ad read from him for Startup Humboldt. That's like a thing we're learning. So like if we do get a Revision sponsor or a Cal Poly sponsor, it'd be something like that. So we already have those reps in practice for doing that. But I think as well, what I want to try someday is like mid-conversation, segue it into an ad, be like, oh, all this talking got me thinking about Cal Poly Humboldt's, get like something like
Exactly.
that,
Yeah.
like how you do it with the SBDC.
Yeah, I do. I don't know if I did this on our pod. I did? Okay. And I forget how I did it because I do it with like every
You did it
episode.
with encouraging people to like look into their trademarks and just like the back end of their business, come into SBDC.
Yeah,
You plugged it so good.
yeah. But we do that with, Cal Poly Humboldt. And I think that if you could prove that you got, students to check us out, then you could say, hey, like you should fund this because it brings in students, which brings you money. And so
I think one of my overarching goals for the pod is to be picked up by a bigger network, and it would become a job, but also at the same time, like,
hey, that's in the works already.
who's a
The radio.
Yo, but
The
if
radio?
you get picked up by a
Yeah.
network, you're a little bit at their liberty. Then they're gonna push their agenda on you a little bit. I love just the independent, especially talks, bro. Like then you're never influenced by anything.
Yeah, but
You
for
know what I mean?
example, WWE has picked up every wrestler podcast, including
okay.
Logan Paul's podcast, and he's been doing it since 2018. And he still brings on, controversial guests, billionaires, whatever, and he still gets to talk and do whatever he wants. I think the only thing it looks like they have to do is do like their sponsored, because it's Fanatics, like WWE's merchandise brand, and they're like becoming like their whole media thing or whatever. And they have to make sure they talk about that and then put on the top like a little watermark that it's like impulsive and then Fanatics. So something like that where it's lenient to where we can still be ourselves, but I guess maybe we're having help with guest outreach or sponsors or something, like kind of like an agent almost, hey, we got this sponsorship opportunity, you should look into this, something like that.
No, that's great. You have like a frame of reference that's huge, like
Yeah.
national level, like impulsive, that you're going for. That's already kind of paved that way of a thought for you. That's great.
Yeah, so like my inspiration for the podcast was a mix of Impulsive, Full Send podcast, and Theo Vaughn's podcast. A
Love
little
those.
bit of those three, like a hybrid of some sort. So hopefully someday down the line we can do like the Full Send guys. They do like an intro vlog type of thing where they have their videographer and they like walk around and like they talk about, oh, we're sponsored by Price Picks, whatever, DraftKings, and then they transition into the sit down and like have this little like beginning banter and then kick it off from there. So something like that is what.
Dude, you know what I really love about Theo's podcast? You never know what to expect.
Yeah.
He always just has interesting guests.
He had, like,
That's
a
the only
lunch
thing you can
lady.
expect is like somebody's going to be interesting and they're going to have a weird talk. People like Joe's podcast. I used to love Joe Rogan, and I still do listen to it a lot. But now you just like it's not that surprising anymore. Like it's almost like he's in like a rotation of guests where it's like he'll have the science guy and he'll have his same kind of rotation of friends. Theo is very interesting to me because, like you said, he'll have on a lunch lady.
Yeah.
He'll have on a nobody like FBI agent. I just really appreciate his diversity.
Yeah, and that kind of motivates me because I was talking to somebody today and they were like, oh, like nobody knows who you are, like nobody knows who we are. And like also at the same time, like nobody knows the lunch lady on Theo Vaughn's podcast, nobody knows the FBI agent, but like packaging the episode in a way that's like, oh, who is this graphic designer? He seems so cool. Like make it clickable, and then they get to learn about you, and then they become like a fan or interested in what you have to say, maybe look you up or something like that. Also, the iced coffee hour is another one of my inspirations. All of my thumbnails, the logo, which we'll get into later, and their style of podcasting I really like, where they just jump right into the questions. They've kind of leaned away from reading off a paper, and that's something I'm trying to do right now too. But it just takes time, because if you look back at any of those podcasts that we just mentioned, like none of them started to be as good as they are now,
Totally.
Yeah.
Takes time.
And like Joe Rogan, especially 14 years ago, quality was like 240p. He had a Blue Yeti microphone. The gain was insane, like super loud, and just like you can hear the cars across the street driving by and stuff like that. So it just takes time, and it's a process. And like, that's something I'm willing to do because I like watching that evolution. And like, if anyone's like, these suck, I'm like, try it for yourself, bro. See if you can match what we're doing right now for your first episode without the same resources that we have.
A couple of thoughts that come to me from that are like, one is maybe we as listeners love the lunch lady episodes because we can resonate with them as just an everyday person.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not a celebrity. It's like, whoa, let's hear a perspective of just an everyday person, which I think is interesting. It's different. And then it takes repetition for people to know you. So no one's going to know the lunch lady first episode, but like you said, after 14 years, if that lunch lady, she's the guest in that example, but if she's the podcast host after 14 years, people know who she is.
Yeah. And it just comes with time, and you'll get there eventually.
I like what you said about guest diversity, and it makes me rethink how we approach our our guest, how we're going to acquire guests.
Pipeline.
Our guest pipeline.
Yeah.
Acquisition was the word I was looking for.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't think of it. And yeah, I'm trying to think that I really want to keep it still in Humboldt, because I want to still keep it on theme with Behind the Redwood Curtain, but we can think a little bit more randomly. And so that prompts me to say, if you have a really fun idea on who we should interview, drop it in the comments below. If you're watching, please let us know who you want to see us interview. Keep it in theme. Keep it Behind the Redwood Curtain. We want people from Humboldt, or people that know Humboldt or are about Humboldt. Drop it in the comments below. We'd love to see your suggestions.
Also, we're on the road to 100 subscribers. It takes 2 seconds. Please go down there and hit that subscribe button. And it's free, and you'll not regret it. Back to the show.
You guys are pros. Look at this.
Thank you. Yeah, we're trying, like I said, we're just trying to get better. Like, first podcast, I couldn't talk to the camera. I was nervous to even bring on a guest and talk to them, and like question them. But as you go on and as you start meeting more and more people, you kind of become jaded in a sense to the caliber of what you're doing. And there's been a few times where I've had to pull myself back, and I'm like, oh my God, I've interviewed 20 CEOs so far. Like, a year ago, I would have never imagined that. So sometimes I just have to take a step back and be thankful, and like not let it get to my head a little bit, not let the confidence get to my head, I think it is. Because I like the feeling of being a little antsy, but then once we sit down and like start talking, that's when it all goes away, instead of being nervous throughout the entire episode. Like, that's how I was with episode 4 with Dan and John. First venture capitalist I've ever interviewed. Very nervous. I was nervous for Will's, our second episode. And then, like I said, just, CEO. And then we interviewed the CEO of Coast Central Credit Union, and I wasn't nervous for that, which is good, but also at the same time, I would have liked a little more nerves, but I already kind of knew him. I don't know how to describe it, but like, I think talking to them first in person and like talking to them for like 10-20 minutes, that kind of eases the nerves off if we like schedule something out in the future or something. So like, you're like, oh, I know this guy, like he's cool. Yeah.
Oh no, you're gonna be uncomfortable the first time you do anything, and then as you've worked through it every time, and then you're nervous the 50th time, and you have the experience under your belt to be like, I've been here before. This is a familiar feeling. I make it every time. I'll be fine. But those first few times, like, you're not so sure yet. You haven't made it through it successfully every time. So it just takes repetition.
Yeah. Definitely was nervous for the first few times that we did I think I was even nervous for our first episode because I had no idea how that was going to go.
Yeah, I was definitely nervous our first few podcasts. And then after that, slowly I became more and more comfortable, to the point where I feel like very comfortable on the mic and on the camera. At this point, I'm always just thinking on, how can we improve our podcast? I'm like always trying to get better. It's always like I look at things always in terms of like basketball, basically, and like I'm like, okay, like, what can we do better? What can I do better to improve my game? And so I'm always thinking that, and so I'm always thinking, okay, how can I improve, our situation on the court? How can I improve this podcast? And I'm also thinking, okay, like moving forward, for more other podcasts, how can we better those?
Dude, hold on to that feeling forever. The how can I continue to innovate? I think it's a bad habit to get into when you're established. And I talk like I am established. I'm not, but like just seeing other people become so in your lane of just like, oh, this is who I am. This is exactly what I do. I'm not going to change. This is the way we've always done it. That's, I think, a bad recipe. It's a characteristic in a lot of young businesses to try to be innovative like that. But then I think some businesses kind of start to be like, oh, we've got it figured out, and I think that's dangerous.
That is before we switch topics to, because you always try and innovate. I want to ask you more about that in a second. But as a viewer and a guest, welcome.
Thank you.
What do you think of our podcast as a viewer? Just, is there anything like any tweaks or any ideas?
As a viewer, I
could-
love the diversity. So just the different phases of businesses that you guys have had on. I think that's what you and I have talked about in private a few times. That as a listener, I'd be really interested in that, of like having people on like Hannah Winans from Trillium Realty Group.
Shout out Hannah.
Hannah's great. A huge shout out Hannah. People like her businesses that's very established, and then people who are early on, because just times change. Like what is working for people right now? How did somebody get started that now their business is really successful? Just everybody's at their own different chapter, that it feels really exciting to come across somebody that's like, on your level, or somebody's close to you, but then I'm kind of getting squirrely in my response to this, but I guess I've appreciated the difference of people on their within their projects, on their journeys.
What about, I guess, anything bad or like things that could be tweaked?
I thought our last episode, the intro started out a little slow, and that was just something I noticed. And as you guys said that without even me talking about it, that you're like, oh, we're trying to like speed up the intros.
We want you
plug
to
in stuff.
We want you to really drag this podcast through the mud, because we want something at the start that's going to be good for viewership. So if you like just really dig in, like
Really digging.
yeah.
Tell us we suck.
You guys don't though.
No, I need more than that.
Okay, let me try. Me not being a sound guy. I have some sound people on my team. Like we've talked about, Mike Dronkers mainly. He had heard the first podcast, and I was so nervous at that first episode for a lot of reasons. I wanted it to go well. I've never been on anything like this, But when I had showed it to him, be like, did I say the wrong stuff? Like, how do you think this sounds? He's like, oh, dude, you killed it. It's all great, but they need to like change certain things on the microphone. And then I had relayed that feedback to you, So thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
And
Shout out Mike. He gave us like a 2-hour consulting session.
Yeah.
Like, for free. And he just like, I took a bunch of notes on like not audio stuff, because I don't do that, but like the guest management and interviewing and like all that. Like I don't know, he just had so much, he shared so much with us. That was awesome. And that was one of those things that I was like, this is a coaching moment for me, and like I'm gonna get better.
Yeah. So basically, what was wrong with the audio at the time? First of all, because you said you were nervous, so you were just a little more quiet, which is fine. We had this pre-mixed on this soundboard, and then I would go into the editing suite and mix it again. So I had all these unnecessary things going on in here, when in reality it should be as raw as it can get. And then I do all the edits on the editing suite. And ever since Matt's episode, I think that was the first time we changed it. It's definitely a lot clearer. Like, it's not like when you back away, it goes silent like it used to. Now it's starting to pick up the room. But back when like you were on it, you were like backing up a little bit away from it, and it would just completely go silent. So I hated that. I thought that was just a thing with these microphones. But thankfully it was within here. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is sponsored by AAA Productions, a Humboldt County video production company helping businesses create strategic, professional video content. If you've been wanting to start making video to grow your socials but don't know where to begin, AAA Production offers consultation and customized production packages to help you build a sustainable content strategy. Use the links below to get started today. Thank you, and back to the show.
Couple ideas are, I kind of wanted to, I don't know, if I were to like give nuggets on this episode, because I'm always trying to like think of value and stuff. I wanted to talk about maybe like the importance of like a team. And I just was referring to like my team, talking about Mike and stuff. And we grow up and we're starting our businesses and we think, you know, you become the boss, you hire all these people to help you accomplish your mission or something like that. And there's just no one way to do anything. You know, like everything is so subjective. Everybody's mission is so subjective. What I've stumbled across that's really worked for me is like trying to build this team of doing stuff with other people that are all professionals that you can come together and kind of like bounce their, you know, hey, Mike, I don't know anything about sound. You're the sound guy. What do you think about this? And then vice versa. Oh, Ricky, you're the graphic guy. I'm working on this graphic. What do you think about this? So just like having a really good support system of just like people who consider themselves professionals and craftsmen, and that could be your team, is just a bunch of individuals who get together. And if you're gonna build a team of like multiple people, like, you know, maybe not the independent gatherings like I just suggested, but like maybe a true like classic team, multiple people working on one thing, dude, that is so hard when you get older. Like I have worked so hard and tried, dude, but I wish I could go back and work harder on that. Like, I didn't realize this magic window you have in your 20s of like, dude, you don't have a serious relationship, or maybe you do, you're just probably not married, probably don't have kids yet, probably don't have a house yet, all these crazy responsibilities that really affect all the decisions you make. Dude, when you're young and broke, you don't have anybody or anything to really make go wrong. Like, stay up all night, go find some weirdos, make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like that building the team phase, you can always do it, but you really can build a really great team in this pretty small window of life. You know, so if I were to say anything, like try to give advice to the younger me, you know, people in my situation 10 years ago, it would be to just don't do it alone. Like, that is stupid. Like, you can have your own project, your own business, but just involve others and just like find a little support system that you can work on your stuff with. You know, for me, those are my sauna boys that I brought up. Like that, the team does not have to be this cookie cutter thing. You know, build your own team, whatever that means to you.
Yeah, it's been hard for me to find that in a way because I want to have a team of people that I can bounce ideas off of, but also at the same time, I feel like doing that requires me to compensate them for something, like financially.
It could just be your time.
Yeah.
Like you and me just hanging out, you know, in my studio. That we're on a team now, and we're just hanging out, bouncing ideas off each other, and it feels good. It feels like I'm excited to see you. I'm excited to work. Versus those nights when I'm by myself, it's like, I gotta do this.
Invite me over next time, bro.
Oh, I'm always trying to work with people now because you don't need to work by yourself.
Yeah, true. Like when I'm editing the pod, I edited 2 last week and it took me 16 hours to edit 2 of them. And then that Thursday we had that mixer and I was like, today I am going out and like connecting with people. And it was great. I talked to a bunch of people, found a couple of future podcast guests that we'd already had scheduled, but met them for the first time and basically had like mini podcasts there at the mixer. So it was really good to just like connect with people and just ask them questions and stuff. And yeah, I think
Isn't it cool though to work with people and talk to people though that like the relationship's established? You're working just with your friends at that point. It's not strangers. It's like it makes it more fun. And your clients can even be that way too. Like, go after the businesses you're really interested in, the business owners that you've jibed with. They become your friends, and then it doesn't feel like you're pulling teeth to work. It's just like, oh, I gotta go just do a project with my buddy. Like, it's fun.
Being so connected with other business owners has made that like failure rate go down. So like I feel like I'm able to connect and make more valuable relationships a lot easier now.
You're not going to get along with everybody, so, and even, there's going to be a lot of those projects where you're like, I wish that would have gone better, and just take the notes and just remember for next time.
With the Startup Humboldt building, I'm in charge of selling the various spaces and rooms we have here. If you are looking for a space to rent here in Arcata, California, you can come to the Startup Humboldt building. We have conference rooms. We have the Startup Common Space, which is a large kind of open space. Reach out. We'd love to have you. And so I'm in charge of selling these spaces. And one thing that I recently implemented is a survey. After every customer, anybody that uses the space, whether it's just a individual coworker, or they're renting the big space or the boardroom, they're getting emailed to and prompted to fill out a survey. And then the survey asks, what can you do? What can we do to improve? And so they've all been good, which is good. But also, people get, we prompt them to give us feedback to critique the place, because they might not say it to my face, as they leave, but this survey prompts them to. And so it just goes, and it kind of goes back to you were saying you should reach out to your old client base. It was also just a marketing strategy to be like, oh, if they fill out the survey and they they do fives, they'll probably rent from us again. And so we're thinking of reasons to follow up with our old clients, every 3 months. We just have to think of a reason, whether it's a special deal we're having, or we're launching this, or we have that event. We're just thinking of reasons to be in these people's inbox, so that they remember us. We're in the back of their mind. They refer us. So that's kind of been our marketing strategy. And I really like what you said about following up with your old client base and your existing client base, because that's really the most valuable allocation of your time when it comes to client acquisition. So I really appreciate you saying that.
When I first moved here, I wasn't going to Cal Poly.
Yeah.
And never have. I was done with school and was working in coffee shops. And I always knew there needed to be a WeWork in Arcata. You know what WeWork is?
Yeah.
What?
A WeWork is it's almost like a gym membership where you pay for a studio space, and it's a huge building you go into, and you basically have this shared creative space. So you didn't have to have your own office. So you can meet with clients there. You had this professional zone, and it was really cool into the aspect I was talking about, building a team. A lot of solo people would show up at these WeWorks, and they'd have other creatives that they would they're friends that they all had memberships. They'd meet up there and work together. And this was a city thing, so I'd never had a membership or been to one of these. I just know what they are. And coming to Humboldt, I was like, oh, bro, we gotta have one of these. I felt weird, buying a coffee and sitting in the corner and asking for their Wi-Fi password. I wasn't a student. I was like, do I go sit in the library by myself, at the campus and look weird? Do I go to CR? Where the hell do I go? Eventually, years later, I rented my own office, and it was just made the most sense at the time, but still in the end, it was just I still wish this thing existed that I always want. So I don't think I will, with the way it's set up, I don't think it makes sense for my business or any businesses, to be honest. I'm super curious, who it benefits.
Yeah.
Because I think a business like mine is what it makes the most sense for. Somebody who needs a studio, who doesn't want to buy one.
Yeah.
But it seems really expensive.
Yeah. So
it's more expensive than the studio that I paid for.
Yeah.
How much was that, by the way?
That was only $200. You can find cheap studio spaces.
So we charge $100 a month for only 9 to 5 Monday through Friday usage.
That's another thing I wanted to comment on. 9 to 5, and I think I might have said this episode 1.
Yeah.
I want to grind at midnight.
Yeah.
And I know how tricky that could be to have a staff here. How do you? That's tricky. So this is perfect world shit I'm asking for that I don't know if there's solutions for.
That's that people have said that. That's maybe between 5 and 10 people have said hey, it'd be really cool if you had evening and morning or just 24/7 like the other WeWorks. And so this building is modeled off of WeWorks.
Cool.
But the issue is that they don't have the staffing to do 24/7. Now they have to. So in order to have the staffing, they have to have the amount of people. So right now, we're just trying to get enough people to hire, or we're just trying to get enough revenue or enough co-working individuals to hire the next person. And then once we get, once that person is fully paid for and we get enough people to do the co-working space, ultimately we have to sell a certain amount in order to hire the next person. So it's in the works. We're working on it.
I want to. Do you have any final thoughts on that? Because I want to transition.
Let me think. Last thought would be staffing is an issue with that. Maybe it's a staffing member hybrid situation where you give free memberships to maybe like 3 people in like as a trial experiment. Those 3 people are in charge of staying till closing.
Like RAs, but for the
Yes.
co-working space.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, and it's just an idea, but like, and in the $100, that doesn't sound that bad. When we have talked about it in the past, I know 200 was thrown around, I know 300 was thrown around, and I was just like, oh man, I instantly was getting upset. It's like I could pay that. It's just like
That was
I
the
don't know if it
original
makes
price.
sense for me, and I know it won't make sense for a lot of businesses.
Yeah. For people like me, I feel like $200 is a little steep. A month, but $100 sounds more doable. And honestly, bro, if you do want to try a test pool of opening for, say, a week for evenings, I'm willing to try that out because you guys already offer this space here for me for free. So thank you. So I'm willing to, grind some podcasts here and get some night work done. Maybe you can come by too.
I would volunteer for that.
Yeah.
But just an idea.
Yeah, no, I like this idea. I made a note here, RAs for the building. And so, that
Think
base,
about who is like the ideal customer to start out. It's a new business, that's probably not generating money yet. So $200 is cheap as hell. But if you're thinking responsibly, a lot of people will ask themselves, especially if it's not their first project or business, they'll be like, am I making money off this project yet? Answer is probably no. So it's like, I can't justify spending money until I'm making money. And nobody's making money at the beginning. So I think catering to those people who could afford a $50, $100 membership, I think now you're starting to excite me and be like, oh, fuck, this is that thing I wish existed when I first came to town.
Yeah, like the original prices were like $200, $300 a month. And then
For nights?
for just in general, for co-working.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like this is way too much, especially since compared to other WeWork locations across California, you're getting way less. So I kind of was like, $100 I think is worth what you get versus, and I was like $250 is not worth it. And no one did it. And so I decided to lower the rates. And so now I'm getting people signing up, and they love it, and they're like, "Yeah, this is like perfect for me." They just need to get out of the house. They like to do this. They like to get work done here. It's a nice location for them to work during those 9 to 5 hours, and then they go home and they work at home during the other hours. And so, but I do really want to push getting those hours opened up. Even if I can get 6 to 10 o'clock at night, I'm gonna try to workshop how we can improve that. And then also, I really, one of the big things that I wanted to talk about, with this podcast today, is your experience working at Cal Poly Humboldt. I think it's really interesting, and I really want to touch on athletics. What is your involvement with the athletics program at Cal Poly Humboldt? What are you doing with that program?
What am I doing with Cal Poly Athletics? Those projects are assigned to me, basically. That's one of my main accounts. So what those deliverables look like, large environmental graphics, so like large wall wraps, just through this for the school and as a whole, just a ton of merchandise. Like I'm like the merchandise person. So fundraiser shirts, stickers, calendars.
Okay. Well, tell me about the team that you work with there. You were talking about working with a team and building a team. You have a team at Cal Poly Humboldt. Tell me about that team that you work with there.
Yeah, how many people work there with you?
My creative team is split into 2 offices, and there's like 15 of us about. In my little office, let me count us. There is 5 of us. We have our creative director, Kristen, me and Serge. Serge is the lead designer. I'm designer number 2. And then we have 2, the people who man the web department, the main web designer, and then the secondary web designer are in the office. So 2 web people, 2 designers, and the creative director. That's my little office. Then Elliot, he's down the hallway. His team is social media, photography, and writing.
How does that go about with delegating, with like what to create, and also follow up? How has revision helped you work at Cal Poly, like workflow wise, or vice versa?
Um, so let's see 2 parts there. One is sorry, can you say that again? You said how did revision affect Cal Poly, and then what was the first part of that?
I forgot the first part.
Let's do how does revision affect your work at Cal Poly Humboldt?
I'd say just my own personal process of just the ways that I stumbled across my own way of doing things, especially with merchandise. I got into graphic design through trying to make clothing brands, making shirts. That was my number one favorite thing. So just the weird stuff I learned along the way, I can apply that to what they want to see. So I guess illustration specifically, stickers, like my fun kind of like tattoo skate style. I've tried to incorporate into the school in terms of merchandise and stickers.
When the school was hiring, do you think that revision was an attractive quality that you had as far as, having entrepreneurial spirit? Do you think that your entrepreneurial venture ultimately landed you gainful employment at Cal Poly Humboldt?
100% yes. What revision showed people, and I didn't realize this at the time, but looking back, revision was just like my validation. Revision was like, okay, this is a designer. He can accomplish projects, and he could work with a lot of different people, like a lot of different styles. So revision was just proof of concept of just like, yes, this kid can design and in different styles. What I didn't realize that hurt me at the time was like a corporate level client, which I consider Cal Poly, and I was trying to work in Nvidia a few years ago. Um, those type of clients would look at my portfolio and be like, wow, this is so cool. You do all this stuff, but what happens when you're going to work here and just do one thing? So I'd say it helped me and it hurt me at the same time. They're like, he could do a lot of stuff, but is he going to stay entertained just doing one thing?
Yeah, for context, Ricky and I had this conversation where he was actually trying to work at Nvidia, right? And they asked you a really hard question and you didn't get the job. But Cal Poly asked you that same question and you got it right, clearly, and now you have the job. Can you kind of go over that story?
Yeah, I kind of just danced around it with the way I was just talking, but it was pretty much that was Nvidia. After 2 interviews, they were like, "Oh, he's fun. He can answer our questions. He kind of knows the material he's talking about." That was interview 1. Interview 2 was, "Okay, he does have a high level of design. Like we like his stuff." So it's check, check. Then I'm dealing with, I think, the creative director and maybe like some type of, I don't know, some just uppers of the company when I make it to interview 3. And then it was like, it wasn't not, they weren't tooting my horn anymore. They weren't like, "Oh, you're great." Then it was like, let's unravel and see, what we can ask to break him. And really the breaking question was kind of that one of like, you can do all this stuff, but what happens when we just want you to do one thing for a few years? Like, we're a little nervous. You're going to get bored. And I had no answer. I had no response at the time. I was just like, whoa, shit. Let's think like best case scenario. I do get the job. They are right. Like I am going to get bored. I do love working for all of these businesses. Like, yeah, that's a great valid point that they brought up. So I kind of just stumbled like I am now answering it. But then when Cal Poly had asked me, the way I answered it was that my diversity shows that I'm able to do a lot of different things. And I didn't have a great example of what it looks like when I work with one brand for a long time. I didn't have that example for Nvidia, but by the time I hit Cal Poly, I used my own brand, Revision, as the example for Cal Poly of saying, oh no, I actually have built one brand for 10 years and it's my own brand. And this is how, like, these are the colors I've always used. This is the logo that's never changed. This is how my website's always looked. This is how my social media's always looked. I didn't realize like my own brand was what they wanted me to talk about as terms of doing one thing for a long time and building one brand for a long time, not getting bored with that. What does that look like over the span of a few years? My own brand was a perfect example. So that's what I had talked about with Cal Poly.
You took it because they framed it as like you're working with a lot of clients. What if you're just working with one client?
Yeah.
But then you were like, yeah, I've been working with a lot of clients, but I'm building one thing out of it,
True.
you know? And that's actually, dude, I'm so glad you said that, because if I get an interview and they ask me a question like that, I'd be like, well, I was building one thing at like overall, you know, because it's just part of the job to work with multiple things. Like at Cal Poly, you're doing multiple things. You're working at the athletics department, the cultural center, mural, and all their logos. You're doing multiple things at this one department. So it's kind of like you're building, I guess, another business within Cal Poly. Like, not obviously not like a business, but like you're still doing multiple things. You're translating what you've done with Revision into Cal Poly.
Yeah, I'm staying consistent while also offering diversity. So I'm doing what I did at Revision at Cal Poly to the fullest, where it was just really tricky for me to frame my value in those ways, where I can get loose and do different stuff, but it all can look the same.
Yeah, and speaking of diversity, when you designed our logo, by the way, Ricky designed our logo shown right here. And
We got some gifts.
yeah, and
Take that out later. Oh, let's see how much I can mess this up.
oh,
These are like where he was before, and then just like different iterations along the way of like just what we were working on.
yeah. So I'll display this paper on screen, but basically, this was our first logo right here, and we got to here. Yeah.
Okay.
And these are all the iterations along the way. As you can see, we kind of started. There were earlier drafts here, right here, and right here, where we were kind of going off of this logo, right? So this is kind of what we were playing around with, but I was like, oh, I kind of want it like this. Like, what can we do? So then we made the circle, and then we were like, oh, like what kind of fonts? Like what kind of like lines do we want? How do we want it lined up? And then let's experiment. We were trying to do something right here where it went all the way around. And then we got to these trees where we were messing around with the trees. And then we were like, oh, these trees look good. Let's go off of that. And then we were looking around for more trees again. And then we were like, oh shit, like, I think this is the one.
Yeah.
So it was kind of just like that whole process. And then we did a Spotify version too, which is right here. But I feel like I'm really bad at explaining this. So
Yeah, I think you did pretty good. I think just to kind of summarize the process, you had some stuff that fit the theme, that made sense, that was what you wanted to see, that you had started with, and then we really did some research on big podcasts, if you remember that, and we took a lot of notes of what big podcasts were doing in their graphics, and we combined what you had started with those. Threw spaghetti at the wall and then just sat there and massaged it until it was like, whoa, okay, that's onto something. Took that apart and refined that. So just, perpetual, wandering and refinement.
yeah, so you rated our logo. Well, my AAA Productions logo the first time, and you gave it a 6,
Mm-hmm.
I think. But you said without the EST 2023, it would have been an 8.
I remember this.
Yeah.
And then the bottom there, that kind of like diagram that shows in our first episode, you know, why I had rated it a 6. And then if we cleaned up a few of those things, you know, that's all I really wanted to see. So that just kind of shows that we did those things.
Yeah. So, well, let's touch on this in a sec.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to ask you, Ricky, what would you rate this logo? I'll have it up on screen too.
We got to do like a 3 or a 4. Should we talk about why?
I want to hear why. Because personally, just for backstory, I didn't know what kind of logo I wanted. I had an idea, but I didn't know. So I kind of just threw something together. I'm like, okay, this is fine for now. Let's just roll with this. And then when we met and started talking about like, doing the logo and stuff, I was like, like I would really like to see what I can.
Can I pull this?
Yeah. I really want to see what I can create with another graphic designer, a professional graphic designer. But yeah, let's go into the why.
The arc around the circle is off. So that kills me. This is kind of like 3D. The rest is not. I don't know where to look first. There's nothing totally unique about this.
The ribbon is covering the T on curtain.
Or the eye.
We got some issues, boys.
Yeah.
Or no, that's an I. Yeah.
We got issues.
See, that's why it's a problem.
Yeah, text, just the alignment. It's made up of like not original pieces. It's clip art all brought together. But it's so valuable because it shows where you were headed. You know, so just the execution, I rate at the 3 or 4.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And then what would you rate the logo that we created together? Looking back now that it's been probably 2 months, 3 months since we made that.
Ish, yeah. And then another thing too is this is what we started with. This is only one night of work. This is really important to say.
Was that one night? I feel like we did that in like 2 or 3, maybe 2.
We could have done 2. The bulk of majority of the work was one night.
The ideation.
The ideation was one night, and then we basically took the ideation and polished it. But this, to me, is only like phase 2 of 3. Like we got the idea out, we refined it, and I was looking at this today and last night, and I was like, how can I?
Can we put Startup Humboldt on the bottom next to AAA Productions?
Oh, yeah, we totally could. To me, that doesn't. These are just like almost like sponsors of the logo. Like these are just like little
Exactly,
fillers of the logo. They're not the logo itself. So we could do really anything with those. I love what we did with the text, to be honest. It went off a lot of stuff we were looking at that we liked. The way the is different than the rest. We got the underlines, the way you put your AAA logo in there. Like I think there's some weird stuff that like breaks rules that does make it cool. I don't love the trees because they're still a little clip arty, but I had told you that when we were messing with this, that like I tried to unravel it and then still came back to the spot. So this has been the working logo, and we might call it good because like I don't know what else I would do with it. I just don't know if I'm totally happy with it. So it's been, I guess the process has been, we started, we ideated, and then we put it as a filler. And that's where it's at now, is like we've touched your logo up and we put it in its place to see if it looks right. And I think it looks right. If I were to rate this, I think if we started at a 3 or 4, I think we're at like a 7 or an 8. I think to get it to a 10, it's something with the trees has to be more interesting.
Yeah, I think we should revisit the trees, and also the line around it.
Sure.
I think it being thicker would work better.
Yeah. It's getting there though.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we're headed in a place that once we adjust it more, it's not going to unravel this, because we know we're liking this. You've put it as the podcast logo, and you seem like you're pretty happy with it so far. You know, so I think we're getting there, but it might not be done yet. Is all I'm saying.
Is there a perfect job? Is there a perfect logo? Is there a perfect design? Or is there always room for improvement?
Times change, the styles change, trends change. You know, so I don't think something stays forever. Usually, it's like it's possible.
So it can't be perfect forever. Maybe in that moment.
I think if you nailed something that's going to work for the next 5 years, that's all as you could hope for. I think your theme of your concept of your business, that is what you have to really lock in, because it's going to just change the whole feel of this. Like, to me, if you were to ask me like what's going on with that in this logo, it's behind the redwood curtain, and we're using some Humboldt themed redwood trees. You know, like no matter what we do with the logo, it's kind of got to look like that. We could do it in a different way, but we probably got to have some trees. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've committed to the trees. That's what can't change.
Really?
I don't think so.
I was gonna say maybe we can kill the trees.
If we did that, no,
That's not what I
let's talk
meant.
about it, because there's no wrong answers to any of this. If we did that and you closed your eyes, like, what would the logo look like? Like, take the words out of it. What's the icon if we don't have trees?
I think it's just metaphorical for, like, you know.
Because then it's maybe like a curtain. Like, what are the things we're talking about in this? Behind the redwood curtain, we have trees, we have a curtain, we have a podcast mic, we have quote marks,
The podcast
we
mic
have
is so
a
cliche.
talking bubble. You know what I mean? Like, think about what a podcast looks like. It can only look like so many things. So I don't think we're that far. All I just wanted to say is I don't know if we're done.
Yeah, I don't think we're done either. I think we can revisit that. I was about to say revision. I think we can revisit that. And I think it would be good too, because like you were saying earlier, like adaptation and constantly evolving is like what everyone should be doing. And I love that because I like watching the evolution. So
That's my philosophy. That's the meaning of revision. My business is just the perpetual just growth of creativity. Like, you're gonna, like, I used to love to draw as a little kid, and I'd look at my drawings like 6 months later, and I'd be like, who did that? That's such trash. And we're just always getting better, you know, like, you can't hate on yourself for that old drawing. It took that old drawing to be able to draw the way you can now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Luke Kennedy, Building Manager at Startup Humboldt. Behind the Redwood Curtain is recorded and produced at Startup Humboldt. Startup Humboldt is a co-working space mentorship hub for entrepreneurs building real businesses here on the North Coast. You can learn more at startuphumboldt.com.
When you look at your body of work 5 years ago, do you see it as, man, I was terrible? Or do you see yourself as, man, I was as strong then as I am today?
I love that question. Like, both. Some of them I see and I'm like, dude, I don't know how I did that. I love that. And I can see the energy at the time. Like, that logo's alive. Like, I can feel what I felt at the time. Like, I can feel what that business was trying. Like, I hit a home run on that one, on some of them. And then there's others where I'm like, ooh, I didn't know what I was doing quite yet. Or I would do that differently now, you know. But I think I tried so hard with each project, even ones that I would do differently now. I'm not going to put something out unless I'm proud of it. And I'll tell somebody I'm not proud of it. If they're rushing it, let me backtrack. The only time I'm going to put a project out that I'm not proud of is if something's rushed, and I'll voice that. I'll be like, I don't think we nailed this yet, but this is just where it's at.
do you think Cal Poly, the higher ups at Cal Poly, care as much as you do about the final product? Because I know, or clients, because I know the way you break down a logo in your head. Do other people do that?
They are pretty templated with certain things. For example, if I'm making a logo, I can have freedom with part of it. Maybe this tree part, if we used your logo as an example, I can have like the depiction, the iconography, the design. I can have freedom with that at Cal Poly, but all the words, there's only one way those can go. if that makes sense. So I don't have much freedom. I have to stay in a lot of stuff that's been decided on by the uppers. So it's like, do they care that I'm trying that hard? Yes, but on my little part. And then on their part, they don't want me to try it all. It's like, this is the one way we've decided we're going to do this. So don't experiment with this.
And do you think that's for their benefit or not?
They're trying to stay consistent, which is really great for brand awareness, and it makes sense why it makes sense. It makes sense.
And we touched on this in the
So sorry for the hesitation on that. I just needed to think about it. It makes sense what they're doing, but I'm in a tough spot of, like I said with the interview and with Nvidia. My strength is a tough thing that I provide, which is do something different but make it all look the same. So it's a tough spot that I'm in at Cal Poly, of trying to stay within the stuff that's already been decided, but always come up with something new.
You mentioned you have a team of 5 people and then a bigger surrounding team of about 15 people. And all these people are working for the marketing team at Cal Poly Humboldt. With AI and innovation making marketing apparently easier and more streamlined for an individual to produce content, do you think that some of those jobs are at jeopardy? Do you think that artificial intelligence is going to put people in the marketing field out of work?
Yeah. It's like you just need less people to accomplish the same thing eventually. Right now, dealing with a lot of AI slop, probably requires more work than it did before without AI at the moment.
Do you think Cal Poly Humboldt is going to implement AI into producing marketing content? And do you think it's going to reduce the amount of people they choose to employ?
I think everybody will. I think all people will. Somebody like Cal Poly, who's at a corporate level, they have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of people that they need to keep happy. So a lot of that goes into cutting cost and operating efficiently. And AI supposedly will do that eventually. So I think theoretically it should ruin job markets of everything. Creativity early on because it's a desk job. But I think even the trades, will get hit. You asked if Cal Poly will implement it. We already have a ChatGPT membership for all of us, so, and I think we're experimenting with how. One example is, I know Kristen, our creative director, she always is great on just like letting us like make experiments. So one of our designers made a bunch of Zoom backgrounds on AI and she loved them. She's like, make as many of those as you want. Let's like figure out like how we can do that for other stuff. So I think we're tiptoeing in how to do it, and I don't think we're not going to slash our team. We're not going to start cutting people and say, oh, we need less people because we have AI. I think it'll make us hire less. We won't cut people. We'll just have people expected to do more.
You can cut out, like, I guess, the middlemen or something.
We don't have a lot of middlemen, but yeah.
You just won't, as the school grows and increases, you're just not going to hire new people. Or if people decide to retire or leave, you just won't replace them.
I think so. I think people will be expected to do more because they have AI.
And I think, like, with the school, it's like hard to just go in and like cut a department in half. Whereas if you're more in the private sector, which I'm not, the school kind of is in the private sector, but they're, it's a public school. I think it's a little harder to do that as opposed to,
Dude, the amount of outrage the students would have, that would be crazy.
People don't like it, and I'll plug myself a little bit. Like I'm doing some AI projects with some other local creatives, and I get that people hate it, especially in creative fields. Like I'm not going to. I'll use it to help me with my sketches at the moment. Is how I incorporate it into graphic design. But nothing's ever going to be like an AI generated logo. You know what I'm saying? And people see that and hate it. So it does enrage people, just the use of AI. But I look at it as like a calculator. Like you could do the math on paper or calculator, but like as long as like you understand it, like just use the calculator. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as you're truly telling that thing what you want it to see and know how to get it, like, I think it's a tool.
Ricky,
Yes, sir.
do you have any final thoughts or closing advice for us?
I brought you guys this book. This is The Alchemist. It's about just, finding your way, trying to define who you are, what you want. And it goes into a little bit about building the team that I've been touching on. But I guess an important idea about the book that I haven't talked about yet is just like the power of the moment. Each like one night can change your life. If you have a conversation, go to dinner with somebody, get inspired, like go home and start working on something that night. Like these little individual moments can set the stage for everything. And that's kind of what happens in The Alchemist. A boy's on his journey. He's trying to understand all these things, and he sees somebody else that oh yeah, we'll talk about that next. That's a fun project, one of my favorite projects that I've done recently. Yeah, the fireplace gnome. But Alchemist, dude's just trying to find his way, and he sees this other dude called the Alchemist. The boy is not the Alchemist in the book. He sees this dude who's like finally doing this thing he knows he's supposed to do, and it inspires the kid, to like be like, I'm supposed to be doing this. There's no time to waste. I gotta get started. So it's taking charge of the moment, building a team, and just going on that journey.
Thank you, Ricky. This will be an interesting read for sure.
It sounds like a really great book.
Yeah, I appreciate the gift.
Of course, man. I bought that book like probably 20 times. I just like
Really?
I always got a few extra copies. I try to give them out.
Oh, awesome,
It's my Bible. I'm out just like
Sweet.
spreading the Lord's word.
That's our last guest also was giving out books to like the local little free libraries.
Nice.
So yeah, lots of book giving. I recently started, reading again after like 15 years. Haven't read since I was in middle school. And so it's really great to be reading again. And when I see people with books, reading books, sharing books, it inspires me even further to continue reading, even when I feel like I'm in a rut. So thank you. This just inspires me to get in a book and make it happen.
Yeah, thank you again for the book,
Yeah.
and thank you for all your wise words.
Of course.
And we appreciate you, and thank you again for joining us on our podcast.
Oh, dude, thank you guys for the opportunity. Thanks for what you do. You're spreading value to just all people on their business missions. So thank you guys, and appreciate you having me and listening to me, talking to me.